Welcome to Unity News. Remember, there is no need to fear. God is in control, and Jesus is King. As Christians, we are called to bring heaven to earth, standing firm on the rock of our faith. Now let's get into today's news. In today's segment, our host, Greg Gutfeld, sat down with none other than Donald Trump for an in-depth interview. We're breaking down the top 5 most important questions they discussed, covering faith, family, leadership, and the direction of our nation. Let's dive into the highlights. The 5th most important question asked by Greg Gutfeld was, how do you view the current border crisis? Donald Trump explained how dangerous individuals, including gang members and criminals, are entering the U.S. due to the lack of border security under the Biden administration. He emphasized the importance of building the wall and restoring control.
We had so many Mexican troops, they had no choice. They had to. Otherwise, I said, I'm going to put tariffs on your cars that you stole from. They stole 32% of our car industry, okay? Which is not, we'll get it back. Don't worry about it. But, I really felt I wanted to do it because we can make our country. The Make America Great Again is such a great MAGA, is such a great tag. And I watched Biden where he was very angry at MAGA. He said, we've got to stop MAGA. And I'm saying, it's Make America Great Again.
Yes.
It sort of doesn't work so well, right? Make America Great Again.
Isaiah 1 verse 17 says, learn to do good. Seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. This issue is critical to Christian conservative values because protecting families and communities from harm aligns with the biblical mandate to uphold justice and maintain peace. The 4th most important question asked by Greg Gutfeld was, do you think more about your mortality and what happens after death? Trump shared that he has reflected more on God lately, particularly after narrowly avoiding being shot at a rally. He credited his survival to divine intervention.
It's always a consequential president that gets shot at. And fortunately, so far, I've been very lucky, or something is greater than all of us.
Ooh.
Something is up there. Someone is up there, maybe watching over us.
I think he's voting for you.
Yeah. It's funny. I always thought the most dangerous job was feeding The View. But you bring up God, and you've almost been killed twice. Do you think more about your own mortality and what happens after you move on?
Yeah, not about mortality, but I do think more about God because, Butler was really the greatest of all miracles. If I'm not looking over there, and I mean a full turn, exactly 90 degrees, I wouldn't be here right now.
Philippians 1 verse 20, 1 says, for to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. This matters deeply because as Christians, our hope lies in Christ, and reflecting on life after death reminds us of our eternal perspective, trusting that God's hand is on our lives. The 3rd most important question asked by Greg Gutfeld was, why doesn't the media ask Kamala Harris hard follow-up questions? Trump pointed out that Harris often avoids tough scrutiny, especially on critical issues like the border crisis and the economy. He believes the media shields her from accountability.
It's hard to kind of figure out what she's saying. Why doesn't anybody ever ask a follow-up question? Like, what do you mean?
Well, that should have happened in the debate.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, doesn't do interviews. You would not see her come onto the show, I can tell you right now.
We ask her now. Come on this show, Kamala. We'll have a box of wine.
She doesn't like doing interviews.
Yeah.
And she's not knowledgeable about economy and various things, and I think it would be a problem. But you know what? He was pretty much gone. They said, Joe, it's over. You're getting out. And he said, I'm not getting out. You're getting out. And they were very nasty, 25th Amendment and everything else. He got out, and they put her in. And she somehow, a woman, somehow she's doing better than he did.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it can last because so weak on people coming in. She's the one, she was the border czar. Yeah. She allowed 21 million people to come in.
Proverbs 12 verse 22 says, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who deal truthfully are his delight. This is concerning from a Christian conservative standpoint because we value truth and integrity. Leaders should be held to high standards and should answer tough questions that impact the nation. The 2nd most important question asked was, would you classify fentanyl importation as a terrorist act? Trump agreed, saying the importation of fentanyl, which is killing thousands of Americans, should be treated as terrorism. He even suggested harsher penalties, like the death penalty for drug dealers, to combat this crisis.
Mr. President, can I ask you a question? With talking about the border, not just all the young military-age men that are coming across this country, the fentanyl that's coming across this country.
Terrible.
If you were in office, would you consider taking importation of fentanyl as a terrorist act? Because if you count it under terrorism, then our Department of Defense can get involved. We give our law enforcement a break.
Correct. Well, and you can even go further than that.
Yeah, I mean, you could send pictures of their mansions to certain individuals in Mexico.
And by the way, these are really rich people. These are the cartel people. These are really rich. Look, we can play games, and we can be nice, and we can be smart. You're never going to, I set up blue ribbon committees. Friends of mine, oh, could I get on a committee? They didn't know the first thing about it. They don't know about El Chapo. They don't know about, these are very smart, hardened people. And, you know, I'm setting up a blue ribbon committee with socialites from New York and California. It's ridiculous. And they don't even want to talk about it. They talk about it for 2 minutes, then they start talking about society. The only way you're going to stop this is the death penalty for drug dealers. I don't know if this country is ready for it, but if you think about it, each drug dealer on average kills 500 people, on average.
Romans 13 verse 4 says that, "For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister and avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil." This is critical to our values, as protecting life is at the core of our pro-life stance. The Bible speaks against those who harm others for personal gain. The most important question asked was, how can the Republican Party harness the evangelical voting bloc? Trump emphasized the need to increase voter turnout among evangelicals and gun owners, noting that higher participation would make it nearly impossible for Democrats to win. He also discussed his strong support from Christian communities.
So, Mr. President, my question is about voting bloc strategy. And it's that we know there are 90 million evangelicals in this country, 40 million of whom don't vote, and 15 million of whom aren't even registered to vote. So what's our plan to harness those votes for you in November?
It's such an incredible statement question because they're great people. They're 95% for me, but they don't vote, meaning they don't vote proportionally. If they would vote, nobody could beat you. And I have total support from evangelical Christians and from other groups. I'll tell you another group that doesn't vote. Gun owners, they don't vote. The NRA endorsed me totally every time, but they endorse me totally. But you look at the number of people, I don't know what it is, they're rebellious or something, I don't know what it is. But evangelicals, if they voted, there wouldn't even be an election. You could cancel it. If the gun owners voted, I mean, the gun owners are just a massive proportion. If they voted, but they vote like at 16% or something.
Proverbs 29 verse 2 says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan." This is the most important issue because it speaks directly to mobilizing Christians to engage in the political process, where we can influence policies that align with biblical values, pro-family and pro-faith. The Bible calls us to be salt and light in the world. Matthew 5:13, 16. When we bring our Christian faith into political and social discussions, we fulfill God's command to make a difference. As we face crises like border security, drug epidemics, and declining family values, we must hold fast to biblical principles of truth, justice, and mercy. Let us declare that the Lord's will is being done in our nation. God is raising up leaders who will stand for righteousness and uphold Christian values in this land. We trust that God's hand is guiding our future, and His light will shine in every corner of our society. Be sure to subscribe to Unity News, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. May God bless you and your families. Remember, we are called to be salt and light in this world. Stand strong in faith, for the best is yet to come.